So, my name is John Hardy. I grew up in a small village in Canada, 1,000 people. I'm undiagnosed dyslexic. And before my mother passed on, she said to me, you know, John, you cried all the way to school, most days. You were known in the village as the kid who cried to school. And I guess that was because there were a lot of really smart people in my school. But I did the best thing I could. I ran away. I ran away to Bali in 1975. I then met my wife, Cynthia. We built an amazing jewelry business from 6 workers to 1,000. And we sold it. And she took me one day after we sold it when I was trying to figure out how to learn to play golf to see a movie. And I didn't really want to go, but she's pretty persuasive. So this guy ruined my life. Can you see who he is? I really wanted to play golf. I didn't really want to play golf, but I thought I wanted to play golf. And I had 4 kids, and if even part of what he said, and it seems pretty clear after this morning's numbers, is true, I have to commit myself to doing whatever I can for those 4 kids of mine and your kids and your grandkids until they take me away. So here we are. This is the world. It's an island. It's 60 miles by 90 miles, a big island by these standards. But it's Bali. And the magic of it is that I had a friend pass. I said to my cook, maybe I should go to the temple. I went to the temple with 4,000 Balinese who were being processed through a praying situation between dark and 4 in the morning. And there were only 4 non-Balinese there. So I realized that I have the pleasure of living in a culture where the culture isn't enacted on the stage at the Hilton on Saturday night for the tourists. It's alive and well. And Bali is really all about the people. So Cynthia and I decided to do something unusual. We did well in Bali. We decided to give back locally. And so we decided to build a school, and it's called the Green School. And it doesn't look like a school, but it is a very wonderful school where kids learn in classrooms that don't have walls. Teachers teach on chalkboards that are made out of bamboo. And kids are happy. And this is obvious after what I said about crying all the way to school. Kids being happy is really important. And we send our kids for 162 days into a box. And in my experience, those boxes were built by the same people that build the prisons, the insane asylums, with the same materials. I mean, what are we doing? And it's not politically correct to even speak about who's teaching at the front of those boxes, but a man smarter than I said, what would it be like to have a factory where you could only go down and check the workers for 20 minutes each year, and you had to tell them when you were coming? So we practice holism, and the idea is that if this young lady has a holistic education, she's going to demand a whole world to live in, and I guess that's what we're talking about. If this guy had have had a holistic education, he may have had many more opportunities than you can see here. The light is natural. There are no walls. The kids understand the breeze. They understand nature. And when it gets really hot, we deploy bubbles made from cotton and natural rubber. And what we've basically done is we've turned the box into a bubble. And these kids know that the price of that, and this doesn't work as well here, Sono, but the price of turning that dial for this climate control is not one that we pay when we pay the electricity bill. It's one that our grandchildren will pay. We need to put the children in control. And these children are sitting at a bamboo desk and they carved their names in it. So they took 2 extra courses. One was called sanding and the second one was called waxing. But since that happened, we haven't had any more vandalism, which is rampant in most schools. We're on the grid and we're not proud. This is a vortex. It's in Germany. This is a vortex that's at Green School. In a 2.5 meter drop on our river, it will produce 8,000 watts of electricity day and night. And there's a man in the audience who came to Green School. I found him in the parking lot one day. And he has just delivered us 125 beautiful solar panels. And in the foreseeable future, assuming we figure out how to put the wires together, we will be off the grid. Thank you, Eric. I was visiting the waste facility here, and I asked all the gentlemen that were there, what is the load? And they told me tons and all kinds of things. And I said, no, but how many people are there and how much comes out of each person each day? I mean, how big is the problem? But the deal is very simple. As long as we mix that however many grams it is, and I meant to Google it, with huge amounts of water, which is hard to find, especially here, we're in trouble. These are compost toilets. Everybody was afraid of them. They work. People use them. I use them. It's something you should all try. Not everything worked. Many things didn't work. These rubber and cotton skylights got eaten by the sun. The school teachers dragged those giant whiteboards into the school, which you all know and love, where you calculate your future. They're made from PVC. There's no way to have them in Green School. These are obsolescent windshields from cars with white paper behind them on a bamboo easel. Green School is in the middle of a 20-acre plot in south central Bali. It's a beautiful place. There's a river that runs through the school. This is how we got across the river until this day. And this day the river came up higher than it's been in 40 years. There were 30, 40-year-old trees coming down in quantity. And the Green School Bridge went away. Well, here's the new Green School Bridge. It's a little higher than the last one. It's not actually going to be for cars. It's going to be for bicycles, and it will be a coffee house so people can get across the river. And the solar panels arrived. And I was so happy. I got the stats. Well, we try to do things differently, and when we saw the engineers and how they designed the racks for the solar panels, we thought, well, we can't really look a gift horse in the mouth, but this is going to be a really ugly thing at Green School. So if you're familiar with Andy Goldworthy, he's always inspired me, the way he drops leaves into the river and watches them float down. So what we're working on is a flow of the solar panels on the contour. They have bamboo bases. And then we thought, what about the kids? It's very hard to get, unless you're in a certain way, it's very hard to get very worked up over a solar panel. So what we did one day at 5 o'clock, we took the parents and the kids and we took some scrap bamboo and we started to make the solar panels into things that the kids could relate to and the parents. This one's a turtle. And I'm still negotiating with Eric to get cables a little longer than the conventional cables to put them together. But eventually the kids will come along the solar walk and they'll point at the turtle and go, Dad, that's my solar panel. It's a turtle. And the bamboo will degrade over the next 2 or 3 years, but when we have 2 or 3 years more new kids, we'll redo it. It's really fun. We gave each group one Balinese artisan, And there were a lot of people standing in corners going, well, if they don't take my design, I'm not going to play. It was a bit like kindergarten, but we had a lot of fun. So Green School is more than a school. The school is the anchor. We're looking at a business incubator for green business. We're looking at a village. We're looking at restaurants. We're looking at all the things that people need to live in, the kind of village idea, a green village. So the way we do it is we sit on the ground, we eat, we drink, we have fun, and then we bring in Balinese artisans who take little bamboo and they make models of what will once be houses. And it's quite fun to see our Balinese architect banging on the top of the model with his fist. And he's actually, before he sends it to the engineers, he doesn't want them to make any problem. So he actually tests it by banging on it. So these little models become houses. And the idea of these houses is there's no bulldozers, there's no grading. It's like they dropped out of the sky. They put down their bamboo feet with stones on the bottom. Long pegs go into the ground that secure them all the way down to the bedrock. And it becomes a new idea, a new low-impact idea of building. They're floating there among the trees. And the most amazing thing about the Green Village is very simple. My daughter, at 14, went away to America to school. And she sat in New York, and I said, I won't hire you until you are making so much money I have to stretch. Well, I didn't hire her, I tricked her. She came back to work as a designer on the project. I said, well, some things have happened, you have to open a company. The company is called Ibuku, and she's on house number 8, and she's now running a construction company and a design company. She's 32. Her name is Alora. And what happens when you go inside these buildings is you have to get used to being in a beautiful space. It's sitting there overlooking the big temple ground across the river. And this is where luxury transmutes into authenticity, and modernism turns into beauty. It's a really amazing project. We had to look at everything. We had to look at the roads. How do you make a no petrochemical road? You do it with stones from the mountain. These guys are the school buffalo. They eat the hedges for lunch. And when it came to, one of the parents is actually a landscape architect who did the 4 seasons and beautiful bushes, and we're retraining him. Nothing inside the school grounds you can't eat. And so the gardens roll right up to the edge of the classroom so the kids can pick their lunch on the way to lunch. And we left room for these guys, who are some of Bali's last black pigs. And this guy is trying to figure out how to put the lawnmower out of business on the playing field. He's the school cow. So we're living in a rice culture, most of us. How many of you have planted rice? Well, how many of you eat rice? How many of you have planted rice? We have no rice planters. Okay, these little girls are learning something that's really valuable. They're learning how to plant rice, how to look after the rice, how to grow the rice, and it's old Bali heritage rice, which is taller than they are. The kindergarten kids had to kick the rice over before they could harvest the rice kernels at the end of the stalk. This young man is picking eggplants. And it's all about connecting kids to the land. We teach reading and writing and arithmetic, we have to. But these kids understand that the land is where their food comes from. And there's so much food coming out of the gardens that kids take it home to their parents. And this young lady is a chef. She doesn't have a hat, she doesn't have a coat, and she's using the things she learned from her grandmother to cook food on a sawdust fire. And we had a chef come with a white coat, and within a week the food was tasteless. So we got back our mothers from the village again. The food is terrific. Each one of you is invited to lunch. Green School is global and local. It's where kids are learning. There's kids from 40 countries there. It's where kids are learning. 5 minutes? Ooh. It's where kids are learning how to live in the world. They practice bamboo building, mud wrestling. The mothers aren't so sure about this. And Cynthia and I wanted to make it local, so we set a number of 20% kids had to be Balinese kids on scholarship. One father came with organic gardens, another mother came from Africa with the marimba, and between the parents and the teachers, they're building a future generation of green leaders. The Green School Effect, we're studying it. It means that prolexic kids, that's dyslexic kids that are now prolexic, and all the kids are having a special experience. And this is how we did it, and this is bamboo. It comes out of the ground like a train. It's stronger than steel by weight. It makes huge spans. It will hold up any roof. It's as dense as teak when it's mature. And we had architects, as you all have had, and they made this. We took the administration complex and turned it into a spiral. We then built a model of it. When the carpenters got reams of architectural plans, they didn't know what to do, so we gave them engineered models. And guys like this, Balinese artisans, built Heart of School using age-old techniques, mostly by hand. And when it went up, it was chaos. It was amazing. And the Balinese, of course, wanted to use steel scaffolding because they wanted to be modern. And when the steel scaffolding came down, we ended up with a cathedral to green and a cathedral to green education. This is the secret time lapse that I'm not going to show. And this is Green School, 7 kilometers of bamboo, 3 months from the ground to coming up. It may not be the biggest bamboo building in the world, but a lot of people believe it's the most beautiful. And this is why we did it, right here. If we don't get the kids green, if we don't get them with standards, so that when Exxon comes and offers them the big package, they just say, no, I'm going to go work for Eric at the solar panel company. There's no hope. And Mr. Gore ruined my life, but he sent me on a journey that's keeping me young. So if you want to do this in your local community, we're looking for 20 more schools. The only things you have to remember are let the climate lead, be local, and build the way your grandchildren are going to have to build. Did I make it? Perfect. Thank you.